What is going on, everybody? Hello, happy Wednesday. Hope you guys are doing well. We got some action in the chat already. Floppin', how you doing? Division Media, Emil, Division Again, Adventure Sounds, FGH, Niam, Bart Johnson Productions, Fernando, Hyper, Pixel 5, Hassan, Arthur. Howdy, how's everyone doing? Thank you for joining me early, folks. Sorry I missed last week. Things were a little intense with trying to get a bunch of projects done. This week's kind of the same thing. Things are getting a little intense trying to get this GH5 guide done in time. And yeah, man. Wow, how we doing, folks? How's everyone's Wednesday going? So we're just going to shoot the breeze today, do some questions, talk about whatever. So this is going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited not to have anything in particular. Yeah, glad to see I'm alive. Great. Glad to see y'all are alive. Wow, this chat's alive. Holy smokes. All right. So today we got the A7R, right? Let's hop over to Chrome and check it out. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. I have yet to own. I've worked with the A7S original and 2. I've yet to own an actual, full frame Sony camera. I've always leaned toward the GH series recently. I have had a C100, so this might be, depending on what this camera is like and the A7S Mark III, that could be one of the first Sony full frames I go for. So yeah, from what I've read, it looks good. All of it looks good. I'm not seeing anything that amazing compared to the last rendition. So we're getting HDR or HLG at least. I would have liked to have seen some 10-bit internal, but I know there's a lot already going on in that camera body. So it's not surprising to me that that's not a thing. But yeah, less binning, all that good stuff. So yeah. I'm excited to see what's going on. Yeah, the proxy files, thanks for mentioning that, Carlo, is really exciting because Sony cameras have had proxies as an option, but they were never frame for frame the same as what you were actually recording, which pretty much made them useless. So from what I've read, this will be legit proxy, so we'll actually be able to edit with those and just relink with the legit, the full frame stuff. So, Cool. What camera am I streaming with? Trusty old G7 Panasonic. Yeah, so it's as Entenda said, Entenda Cinema. It's mainly going to be photo changes. I think the A7S III we'll see something exciting, super exciting there. Right, so I'm going to scroll up here a little bit and see what's going on in the old chatto. Sweet, you just Darius says you bought those lenses for under $32. Thanks. He's talking about those C-mount lenses. Those are a lot of fun. Got some more interesting lens videos coming up. Don't get me going on the 10-bit. No real person can see the difference from Maxotics. Maxotics. Yeah, it's not that you can see the difference. It's, I think, what you're able to do in post that makes it really, really interesting. Cool. So let's go over here to a full screen and hit some questions up. Yeah, so Timian says, hey, last stream you said you're going to do a video on cameras under $300. When am I going to upload? Hopefully soon. I need to film with each of them and have enough footage to talk about them. I've probably about halfway done with that right now, so that should be hopefully early next month. I've got a lot of lighting videos going on right now. Tomorrow we're doing the Aperture Mini 20 lights and a bunch of Came TV lights, and then some really interesting travel-friendly lights. So lots and lots of lights. I'm curious, by the way, are you guys kind of, what do you guys want to see more on the channel? I feel like right now it's kind of LED lighting heavy, which that's something I really love, and I think things are really exciting right now for lighting. But I've got some lens videos coming up. Try to do more camera reviews. I'm thinking of branching out a little bit and doing some slightly smaller sensor, like 1 inch, and then I don't know, maybe we'll go crazy. Do you guys want to see some big cameras like Panasonic's EVA? Maybe we'll do some of that stuff. Okay. Any green in my Aperture 300D on the edges? Absolutely. There's a pretty prominent orangey, greeny, yellow ring on the edge, and I'm really excited. I'll be able to release more information soon, but teaming up with some other filmmakers in the area, we're going to do a comparison between the 300D, a Joker 400, maybe an 800, although let's be honest, the 800 is just going to wipe the floor, and then a 2K tungsten and some other lights, and see where that 300D lands. So our goal is to give people a real idea of what's up with the output on that light and what they can expect. I'd love to see it behind the scenes for YouTube Live, something I'd love to do on my channel. Thanks, Amanda. Yeah, I'm going to be doing a desk. I was going to film it today, but I ran out of time. A whole desk tour, and then kind of how I set up the stream here. You want to see some tripods? Okay, that's a great request. I'll make sure to get that on the list. Thanks, Light Years. Oh, thank you, Jonathan, who says I have a very soothing voice. Maybe I should call NPR. What is the vignette look on the bottom corners? You talking about this shot? It might be... Oh yeah, so that's my background. I didn't quite move it close enough to the whole set. This is just a pop-up background. So I've got a video on that coming soon, but it works great for hiding all the junk behind me for the live stream. Okay, whoa, got a lot of questions here. Let me try to catch up. Wow, things are moving. Hang on a second. Sorry, guys. Do I regret shaving my head from Premiere? No, I love it. It is amazing not to do anything with it. I don't have to look in the mirror. It's just the same always. You don't have to do anything. I don't have to do anything with the hair. It's awesome. Don't have to pay for haircuts. It's good stuff. So I'm a big fan of it. You'd be surprised how that Joker 800 compares to the 300D. We tested against the Joker 800 in tungsten 2K from Bart. Interesting, because I feel like it might come close maybe to a 400, but an 800, I mean, that's a whole nother world. Now I haven't, I'm excited to try it with the Fresnel. That's where things are going to get real interesting with that 300D. Donnie Rosie, good friend of mine, says, I'm always asked what is good for a starter camera, maybe suggestion for 500,000, 1,500. Yeah, that's a good idea. I've thought about doing some videos on that, you know, $1,000, what camera should you go for, and all that kind of thing. Studio tour from Grant. Yes, we're going to do a studio tour. I just got to clean it up and finish some stuff and hire some people so I can spend time straightening up, because every single day the day disappears because I'm trying to get the videos done and work on these guides and whatnot. So we will see. Hoping to get that done soon, or do a live one. Maybe we'll just do a live one. That would be fun. Are shoulder rigs relevant today? It's a great question. KRSH. I don't really use them anymore. I love cages like this right here. This is kind of my jam because I can put a monitor and a top handle on here, build it up a little bit. But at the end of the day, cameras are getting so good with their stabilizers, especially the GH5. It's really just not necessary unless you're really going for a specific handheld look, or you're trying to throw a giant red rig on your shoulder. Then you would need it. We got, I don't have my sound effects thing set up. Pretend there's air horn sounds. We got a donation from Carlos, $2. You got a question for me, Carlos? I'd be happy to answer it for you. Thank you for the donation. That means a lot. I'm really upset that I don't have my sound effects thing going. Where did that end up? Rats. We'll have to get that fixed. What's the best way to work with bicolor LEDs from Red Alert? You got lots of options. I like to play around with your key and your background, mix and match, and try some different things. Tungsten for your key, daylight for your background. Lots of options. Ooh, Carlos, that is a great comparison idea. He's talking about the 300D from Aperture and the Razor 7. Razor? That's from, shoot, what's the company's name? But yeah, I know what you're talking about. That would be a very interesting one. Maybe I can try to get my hands on one. Yes, so Jeffrey just said Sigma 16 to 16 millimeter 1.4. Yes, I'm definitely going to try to pick one up and review it because I think that's a really fantastic focal length for Sony E and Micro Four Thirds. To shoot S-Log or not, I have so much grain on my footage when shooting in this mode from Abhay. I feel like Vlog for me personally is easier to work with than S-Log. S-Log, some days it's like, yes, perfect. Other days it's kind of rough. In all honesty, I'm finding that unless you're working with an external recorder and you can do 422, potentially 10-bit, S-Log can be kind of a headache, and it might be more problem than it is good unless you perfectly nail your exposure. So I would not, just because you have S-Log doesn't always mean you should shoot with it. So if you're more comfortable with something else, go for it. I shoot non-S-Log all the time. Nathan, yes, the budget video camera is coming out soon. I will have, I think next week, a budget camera setup coming out soon. I might show it briefly here. Whoa, what is that? Whoa, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to wait and see. But it's a $200, $250 little cinema kit that I put together with a camera and a really kicking lens that looks pretty awesome. So that should be fun. Just kind of like a kick around. You just want to grab something and run out the door and shoot some fun stuff. That should be fun. Did I do a video on the live setup? No, I've mentioned the setup, but I have a video coming up on that soon. I'm gonna, I might title it something like Ultimate YouTuber Desk Setup or something, because that's really what it's completely designed to be, is strictly a YouTube live stream, video capture, and editing setup. Okay. Let's see here. What hard drives do I use to edit with? Thoughts on internal solid state? Always go for internal solid state if you can. Externally, you can get away with a lot. I have 4 terabytes in a RAID 5, but we did a video on that recently, and you can check that out. It was a live stream. We talked about hard drives in general, or in depth. All right. What rig would you recommend for the G7? I'd probably just get the small rig cage. I'm going to do a video on kind of a one-size-fits-all rig setup, and all you need is to get a cage, doesn't matter what cage, on your camera, and then there's a couple things you add to it and it's perfect. I've been using it with my GH5 A6300, and it's just a brilliant setup in my opinion, so that'll be fun. Looking. Am I gonna try the new iFootage Shark mini slider? I would love to when it comes out, because at NAB that was really exciting. I love the idea of just being able to in-point, out-point, and for those who don't know, it's a motion control system for I think under $1,000. So it's a slider, motion control, the whole shebang, and that would be awesome. Even just the little head, just to have a nice smooth pan just by hitting go, that would be great. Just got the small HD focus to pair with my A7S II. Which LUTs are good for client viewing when shooting picture profile 8 S-Log Cine 4? That's a great question, Kevin. Congrats on the awesome monitor. It's a great monitor. I would try to find something not crazy. I don't know if does Sony even have like just a Rec 709 for S-Log? In which case I would do that. Otherwise, I think what you could do is in Final Cut or Premiere, grade your footage, just take a shot, grade it, don't mess with color, just your exposure, and I think you can export your own LUTs, and that might work. Just something that like they can see the contrast change, because if you get too crazy, then it might look horrible on set if the color is different. What rig should you use for Canon model for 80D? I would probably just check small rig. They have tons of great cages for great prices. Okay. Arthur says, should I upgrade my Canon 100D? 100D. You mean up to 70D? 70D? Yeah. What's your budget? I would ask what your budget is, unless you're really stuck with Canon or you want to stick with Canon. Figure out your budget and go for that. Tip for you: pop out the chat. Maybe print PDF and read it over for future content ideas. Awesome idea. I complainer. That's a good idea. I see something about Atmos. Sully, what was your question? There it is. Considering selling my Pixel 5 for Atmos Shogun, what do I think? I think that's a good idea. I think you're talking about that, like the video devices thing, right? The Shogun Inferno has been a beast. I've been using it for all my videos, and it's just so versatile. And I'm going to start soon working on some HDR content, and have that as a small external monitor is awesome. So I don't think you can go wrong. Or the Inferno, the Ninja Inferno instead of the Shogun, if you're okay with giving up RAW and SDI. But yeah. Okay. When do you really need an external recorder? That's a great question, Darius. When you want higher quality than your camera can offer. Most cameras will only capture 8-bit 420, sometimes 8-bit 422, but very rarely. And with an external recorder, you have the ability to, depending on your camera, record up to 10-bit 422 or higher. And it'll record it in ProRes. So if you're struggling with editing the stuff that comes off your SD card on your camera, using an external recorder is awesome, because you just copy the files over off the SSD, start editing, no hiccups with your system. So it's a really, really good way to go. You can also use it as a backup, record on the camera and your recorder. Just lots of flexibility. Loving this schedule, Caleb. Thanks for the great content. Thank you, Worship Tech Tools. I need to do a better job of reading through these comments quickly and without long periods of silence. What do I think about map boxes? Do I use them often, or lens hoods are good enough? I don't really use them at all. I used to when I was doing a lot of outdoor stuff, but even then you can get away with a lot without one. I would say if you're going to be using a lot of filtration, that would be a good move, or just constantly shooting with different lenses and crazy bright environments to be able to flag those a little bit, but you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. What is your personal favorite DSLR company from Light Point Films? Are you talking about like camera company? That's really tough. Right now I'd probably say Panasonic or Sony, and or I think they're pretty much the big boys in the ring when it comes to the smaller form factor stuff. Really exciting. Although I also am a big fan of Blackmagic and them shaking things up every once in a while, so it's good stuff. How do you find a remote editing job online? From Carol. I would go to, what is it called? What's the site called? It's a great place to find like crew. Help me out, guys. You guys know what it is. There's a website where essentially you can offer your services or find people that do editing. Production Hub. Bam. Productionhub.com, I think. I would start there. You might be able to also find 99designs.com would also be a good place where you could sell your services. All right, I'm gonna scroll down here and try to catch up. Sorry guys, I'm doing a bad job. So yes, so Sully, the Shogun does do RAW, but it's only for certain cameras, primarily Sony. But you know, if you have an FS700 or FS7, you can actually do RAW with it, which is pretty exciting. Let's see what we got here. I was thinking about purchasing the Yongnuo 216, but the fan is making me doubt about it. Is it very bad? Thanks. From George. It's not terrible. I mean, it's loud if you have it really close to your microphone. But if you're using it for a background, and the background is 6 to 8 feet away, you're probably okay. And it's only when it's cranked all the way up, I have found. So it's tricky. If you're unsure, check out like the smaller aperture light, or just go with a YN 300 light. Gearbox asks if the lens review I just did, the 50mm f1.1 lens, can it be used on APS sensor? Yes, but not your 80D. It's only going to work for E-mount, Micro Four Thirds, and a couple other APS-Cs. Canon's mount, I believe the flange distance is not correct. How old am I? I am in my late 20s. Current light setup looks very nice. It is just the good old light mat from Falcon Eyes. I did a review on it. If you just search on YouTube for Flex Light Alternatives, you'll find it, and it's awesome. Excuse me, all stuffy tonight. Yes, Production Hub, awesome. Fiverr.com, check it out. Media says is also a good option if you're looking to sell your work, or your services rather. A6300 still worth it from Marco? Absolutely. If you are okay with rolling the dice on overheating, it doesn't have stabilization built into the body, but it's still a great camera. Canon, you don't talk a lot about Canon. That's correct, Jordan. There's just nothing exciting there, I feel, for the price range where I do most of my content, which is like $0 to $3,000. There's Sony and Panasonic and several other people are killing it in that space, but Canon is just not bringing their A game. So yeah, that's why I don't cover much, and I don't, I'm not gonna do like C100, 200, 500 videos all the time. What rig cage would work for your Sony a6500 with an extended battery life? So for that, you can do Sony MPF battery plates externally. You could use a small HD focus monitor, which will power it, or use the iFootage something Ray, Power Ray. It's essentially a little box that will let you use USB batteries. Seagate or Western Digital, comes down to portable storage. It's a good question. I like Seagate recently. They're both decent options. I usually go for Seagate if I can, though. Having trouble with battery on the back of the small HD, too tight. Interesting. Yeah, I know some people had some issues on that. So maybe they want you to buy their special batteries or their specific batteries. Can you mix 24 frames per second with 23.98 without having to process anything? You're gonna have to do some kind of processing. It's, yeah, as much as possible, try to avoid mixing frame rates, but since they're so close, you shouldn't have too much of an issue. Alex Miner, $5 donation. Thank you, sir. He has a question, and he asks, do the G7 and G85 have the same sensor? Recently bought the G85 off of eBay. Seem to have more noise in the footage. That is a great question, Alex. They are close, but they're definitely different. If I were you, in my guide for the G85, I talked about ways that the sensor crops in. So on the G85, there's several things that will trigger it cropping in. If you use the iPhone app or the Wi-Fi, if you use any stabilization, all that stuff is going to additionally crop. So try shooting in 4K without any of that other stuff and see if that changes anything, because it'll crop in with all that stuff and you might have some issues there with noise. But they are slightly different. And I also have noticed in certain environments, the G7 actually has a cleaner sensor. Best adapter for EF to Micro Four Thirds. So yes, thank you, Alex, again for the donation. That means a lot. North Star Gaming, Best adapter, Canon to Micro Four Thirds, depends. Are you going passive, no electronics, electronics only? Do you need a speed booster or focal reducer? And then finally, are you using a Sigma to 18 to 35? Because that stinking lens is going to cause all kinds of issues. Q Curry, $5 donation. Thank you very much. We got another question from him saying, will you get the new iMac in December? If you do, will you go back to Adobe products? What's the best lens to get on a Panasonic G85? I am a wedding videographer. First question, am I getting an iMac? No. I might try to get a hold of the iMac Pro just so I can check it out and review it maybe. But I think I'm going to keep making this Hackintosh work. Maybe I'll throw AMD Vega in it for graphics. And I won't go back to Adobe. I don't think I'll ever go back to them unless they really do something amazing. Because Final Cut is floating my boat right now. And I love how it's optimized for certain software. And it just renders and exports beautifully. And Final Cut in general is just epic if you're a content creator. Best lens for the Panasonic G85. I love the kit that comes with it. If you have that, awesome. If you don't, pick that up. Otherwise, I love the 14mm f2.5. I'm using it right now, and it's a nice focal length at 14 for Micro Four Thirds, and at 2.5, it's pretty handy. Is anyone shooting with all-eye codec on the GH5? I have a little bit. There are definitely some cons to doing that. It's great because this is all you have. This gives you 10-bit 422 all-eye, awesome. But when you try to edit that puppy, unless you've got a roaring machine, you're gonna have some problems. You're gonna have to transcode or create proxy. So in the end, the workflow is longer. There's more file creation, and that's where getting something like a Shogun or Ninja Inferno makes a lot of sense. All right, before anyone does anything else with the donations, I need to make sure I get my sound effects going, because sound effects are where it's at. Cool. Let's look, see what we got going on here. What do I mean by Hackintosh? Search my channel for Hackintosh. You'll see the two computers I've built. It's essentially a PC that runs Mac OS 10, and so it's a monster machine for much less than what you would pay for from Apple. Okay. Love your hard drive episodes where you covered various types. Would it be enough to work daily off a portable SSD bus powered, because I freelance and then back up nightly to a RAID 1 setup? Yeah, that would make sense. What I would do also is get a small portable cheap hard drive and kind of like Velcro them together and keep them together, and then use some kind of software that'll back it up maybe a couple times a day, just because I'm intense like that. But SSD would definitely work. All right, we're almost fired up here. So that's that. Let us see. Trying to get my, for those who are just joining, trying to get my, see if this works. I gotta have my sound effects. Let's try that again. Doesn't seem to be working. Rats. Well, what are you gonna do? Oh well, I'll get that figured out sometime point. Whoa, you're going bald. Yes, I am. Looking down here, preferred lav portable recorder for interviews. I'm kind of on the fence right now. Rhodes setup works well. I'm not wild about the microphone or the cables. And then there's a lot of budget stuff out there. Ceramonic, I'm playing with a wireless setup with them. There's on Amazon, there's some decent like $25 lavs that work pretty well. And then of course, if you want to go whole hog, Shure, and more specifically Sennheiser, makes some awesome stuff. And we got a donation from Dario. Thank you, appreciate that. If you have a question, hit me. I'm more than happy to answer that for you. Yo, is the Rode Video Micro a good budget microphone from Snazzy Naz? Do I have it right here? So, yeah, I do. I have the Micro here. The Micro is the best video mic that Rode makes. And I'm going to say something kind of interesting right here. I've considered doing a video essentially offering alternatives to each of the Rode video mics because recently I feel like they aren't necessarily the best or best microphones. In my opinion, there's only two Rode video mics you should consider buying, the Pro and the Micro. I have found an alternative to this that's more affordable and better, and that'll be coming up here in a week or two. But this is one of my favorites, or my favorite from them, because it's affordable, it sounds good, and it's tiny and cute, and it's awesome. So yes, long story short, it is good. Will 16mm be wide enough for APS-C, or should it consider the 12mm? I think 16 is good. It depends on how wide you like to be wide, Jeffrey. But once you get beyond 16, you're getting into distortion land, unless you spend a lot of money. So 16 is a good way to go if you want some gnarly wide stuff. This is a 14mm on a Micro Four Thirds lens, and that's probably you would need to be at least at 14 for that. 16 IPS, you got to be good. Future of Sony APS lenses, yeah, I don't know. I wish Sony would come out with more. Don't do cheap ones. Did that and had to upgrade immediately. Acrylic says, I think he's talking about microphones. The one I found so far has been a real winner. Getting a Rode Video Mic Pro. I was wondering if you could fit on a wearable microphone. Not sure what you mean by that. Fit on wearable microphone. Let me clarify it. I'll nail that for you. Stabilizing 4K or slow motion. Okay, so question in regards to scaling up 1080p to 4K. At least that's the way I'm reading it here. I would go for it. Do some tests. Upload, if you're going to YouTube or something, upload to just a couple tests and see if you can see a difference. Because if you had just a hair sharpening to your 1080 stuff and upload it in 4K, you might not notice much of a difference. Best cheap Canon glass. I love the Olympus 50mm. Wow, I'm really getting behind, guys. I gotta catch up here. Oh man. Best backup hard drive. As a backup, you don't have to spend as much unless you're doing a RAID system. But I mean, one thing you could go for is a bunch of 1 or 2 or 3 terabyte drives in a RAID, and then buy a cheap 8 terabyte, 6 terabyte external drive and back up to that. But you don't have to spend a lot of money on those because it's a backup. But try to have 2 backups. It's a good idea. How do I like Aperture's lights? I love them. There's little things that are interesting with them, but in general, they're one of the better brands right now on a budget. Well, depending on which one you're going with. Falcon Eyes is another brand that I'm really enjoying right now. Georgie, donation €2. Thank you very much. He says, thank you for the work. Great work. Greetings from Madrid. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That means a lot. What headphones am I using? Sinal headphones. I don't think they're the best. They're not the worst, though, and they're pretty affordable. Okay. A7S is a myth. Feels like they're never going to come out with it. I have no idea. It's a good question, though. What do I think of the next Panasonic camera? Rumors for November 6th. I have no clue. I know they shifted some people around and did some stuff with their company, so I'm not sure what things look like there. But I'd love to see a G85 update at some point. I think that camera was awesome, and if they made a couple tweaks, it could be a serious contender going forward. Yeah. Christos says, love the G85 guide. Thanks for making them. Thank you, sir, for purchasing it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's such a good little camera, that G85. What company is your sound effect panel by? It's an app that I'm so sad that I didn't get to work here. It is called Air Horn something, but it has a ton of different sound effects. So it's a great little little deal. Oh, please give me my sound effects. Tape level. That's so sad to me. Maybe it's this one. Was this it? Nope. Can't believe I didn't have that set up for today. Next time, guys, we'll have sound effects. I promise. Okay. Alex Fishing TV, $5 donation. Dadgummit. Man. Just pretend there's air horns going off like crazy. Best GoPro render settings. Hi from Miami. That is a great question. I don't do a lot with GoPro footage. Are you talking about your export settings? In which case, I've done a video on compression for YouTube and whatnot, and that would pretty much carry over as well. Thank you for the donation, Alex. Thank you. Kevin Ray's $5 donation. Kevin, you're a beast. Ever heard of an adapter for Sony mirrorless that serves as only ND filter so I can use my native lenses? I haven't. I doubt that exists because those lenses, I think you're talking about Sony lenses with a Sony camera but ND in between, and because the lenses are designed to be right on that mount, I don't think you'll see that. There are really cool lenses that have ND built in or faders built in for other lenses out there, but if you want Sony lenses on a Sony camera, you're probably gonna have to do the external thing, the external filter. I'd recommend getting a bunch of nice NDs that aren't faders. Get XUME adapters. They're little, they go on the front of the lens and they're magnetic, so you can have a little bag with each of the filters and you just pop them on and off without having to constantly screw things on and off. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, Ryan, if you're having issues with aperture lights or replacing parts, just contact them. They'll hook you up. Any more good, cheap HDMI monitors? I might do another video on that. I feel like that video I did is pretty much the bottom of the barrel that I would recommend. Up from there, yeah, I think there's some good stuff out there. Best storage backup solution, just grab another drive. On usually Seagate or Western Digital, you can get really, really cheap, big capacities, and I would just go for that, Alexandria. Oh, right. ND filter test. Maybe I could do that. I feel like there's some people that have done a great job on that in the past, so check YouTube. Greetings, Emil from Norway, G7 shooter, awesome. G7's a great camera. $600 gets you in that game, brand new. I have a video talking about some of that stuff coming up. I'm excited about. Chat room, slow down. Yeah, tell me about it. I've never worked with Avid, Alexander, but I know that's still pretty much a staple if you in film schools and whatnot. Monitoring apps for Android couldn't help you. I don't have an Android phone, but I'm sure there are. There has to be. Benro B-Free versus Benro Aero. The B-Free looks really cool. I should get one of those. But I'm also a big Benro fan. I would probably go with the Manfrotto. I've only briefly worked with each, but the B-Free is just so tiny and easy to work with. Worst camera I ever bought. That's a really good question. Worst camera I ever bought. A used T3i for an upcoming video, if I had to pick. But you'd hope I'd think hard about the cameras I've purchased. I think that's probably, yeah. What camera setup am I using right now? Panasonic G7 with the 14mm f2.5. That is a killer little setup, and it's really tiny and awesome for 4K. I heard the G7 isn't being sold anymore. It's still available, I think, last I checked. Do I need 4K for YouTube tutorials? I already have the 70D SL1. No, but it makes a big difference. It's pretty easy to spot the difference between HD, especially Canon HD stuff, and 4K. If you get a 4K camera and they're getting really affordable, you don't have to necessarily edit or upload in 4K. If you can shoot 4K, edit it, and you can send it up either 1080, and you'll still see a pretty big difference. I've heard that having 4K videos gives you a slight edge on YouTube from a couple guys who do a lot with YouTube, the company. So, you know, if you do 360 videos, YouTube likes to see that, or VR. So some of that, like, cutting edge stuff, YouTube will promote, and you get the little 4K tag, which is kind of nice. But no, it's at the end of the day, if you're banging out great content, HD is just fine. Do I use 3-axis stabilizers? Not many, or not often. Zhiyun crane has been awesome. I'm working with my buddy Corbin right now on some reviews for Kane TV to see what their current gimbal lineup looks like. Yeah. Yeah, DSLR guide would be a little upset if you heard, or die if you heard about the T3i from acrylic. I've only bought one once, and it was like a month ago for a video that I haven't finished. So I'm not ripping on the camera or his camera, since he probably knows it better than anyone else out there. But yeah, it's funny. What do I think of the Panasonic 12 1.4? I haven't worked with one. I'd love to get one. But yeah, that looks pretty slick. I'm sure it's awesome. Okay. 400mm 2.8 for blogging. Nice. Cheap 4K YouTube entry camera recommendation from Mr. Kareem. G7 is good. Let's see. Help me out, guys. There's got to be some other ones out there. The G7 is probably one of the cheapest ones. There is another camera from Panasonic. I can't remember it. FZ something. It has a fixed lens, but it is 4K. I'm kind of at a blank, but one of my favorites is the G7. Great camera. 4K. Put any lens you want on there. It's good stuff. Do you still dislike Nikons? Because I know you did in the past, but with new Nikons? Thanks, Jordan. Great question. I still don't like Nikon. I just haven't used them. I think there's a reason no one in the community really talks or uses them. I'm not ripping on anyone who has or likes or uses Nikon cameras, but I have a really hard time recommending them when Sony and Panasonic are just killing it. So, yeah. Just got the Sigma 35 Art, but haven't tried it yet. Sweet. FZ300, thanks for hooking me up with that, Ryan. Or Aaron, rather. That's a good one. Yeah, GX85 is good. It's a little more expensive than those other two cameras, but if you have $1,000, that's a good way to go. Let's see. Scroll. Would love to hear your thoughts on V-mount batteries. That's a good, yeah, I've been thinking about doing that for a while, but that's a great idea, Kevin, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, it's just a really giant battery and you just plug it into a camera or a light, but there's a lot you can do with V-mount, gold mount, all that stuff. So I've been searching multiple times for something budget friendly, but really haven't found anything epic. Okay, scrolling up a little bit, see if I missed anything. Any other questions? What should we any topics you like covered for the next future live streams? I'm thinking about doing some interviews, try to bring some people on and do kind of like a live podcast with your guys' questions. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I'm thinking about maybe HDR, bring some people on for that. My buddy talked to somebody about corporate video questions. Other YouTubers. I think that stuff would be a lot of fun to bring some other faces on here, and maybe we do a little interview with your guys' questions. That'd be fun. My audio setup for this video is a shotgun microphone on a cheap $13 arm. There we go. It's also, I've got a ball head right here, and that's going into a soundboard off to the side. I'm using a shotgun because super isolated, not getting sound from upstairs and whatnot, and I can put it out of the frame and film an actual video here. So I've really enjoyed this. It's been great. Okay. What would it take for Sony to win your heart over Panasonic? From Jeffrey. I did a video on that recently, sort of, at least a month ago or so. And if they put a flip out screen on the A6500 or the upgrade, that would pretty much take me most of the way. But better menu system, little better HDMI on there, like being able to use the HDMI for more and not have the screen go black and whatnot. It wouldn't take too much. It wouldn't take too much. Man, I need some water. I do not have any with me though. What I think the A6500 replacement will bring and when, I have no idea to either. I would hope some incremental changes. I don't know what the big next thing is. So each year there is something, or every couple of years there's something big. We had 4K, which was huge. Then we had in-body stabilization, and so we're kind of done with that. So I don't know if HDR is the next thing, but all these cameras already shoot log. So I don't know. What do you guys think is the next big thing? Autofocus, there's some room to grow on Panasonic's end. Sony's kind of done with that and great at it. Maybe it's larger, more frame rates. I don't know. But something is going to change. Thank you, Horatio, for the kind words. This is great stuff. Lily Caleb. I'm trying to get down here. Interviews would be awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Simon. What soundboard? It is the Pro FX 8 V2 from Mackie. Cheap lavalier. Yes, yes. Great idea, Tom. I just need to buy a bunch of them, but going through a ton of cheap lavs and see which one comes out on top. Aperture lav. Yeah, that's been on my list, Sully. Awesome. Oh. Thank you, my love. Somebody heard me or is watching the stream upstairs. Yeah, HDR. Oh, RAW. Great idea, Ryan. Yeah, you're probably right. RAW is probably the next big one. And I'd love to see some really good looking RAW stuff. Like, or not good looking, but a better implementation of RAW. So instead of just a bunch of photos, like I love what Red has set up, where you can actually in Final Cut or Premiere start making changes and you don't have to open up all of the images somewhere else. Let's see. Yeah, so Simon asked about the camcorders like the Canon XF400 Yes, I am hoping to play with some of those new 1-inch sensor cameras from Sony and Canon, because I think that's really exciting stuff. Tiny little cameras, everything built in, and that would just be epic. So we'll see. So those haven't been released yet. But do I use Premiere at all? No, I do not. I've cut the cord with Adobe over a year now, I think. And I've replaced it and used Final Cut 10, and then for all photo stuff, Affinity. So Affinity Designer and Affinity Photo. Let's see. Yes, I would love to. Shits nuts. He says, wish Blackmagic would do a true Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. Yeah, I would love to see an update to that. That would be awesome, because obviously they did well with that. All right, let's see. Favorite native lens for Panasonic: this 14mm 2.5 or the 12 to 35 2.8. Also, the 21.7 is really good as well. Cheap lenses for vlogging on the G7. That lens I just talked about. The kit lens, it just depends on how long your arm is. And if you use something like a little tripod. But I feel like for me, 14mm works. It's a little tight, but it can work. So something like this, little $10 metal tripod, or the Gobi, whatever everyone uses. Right. Thoughts on the Aperture Light Dome Mini versus their larger Light Dome? Larger one's going to be bigger, softer, better from a light perspective, but obviously it's huge. If you're going to have the light really close to you like this, I'm touching the light right now, the mini dome would work just fine. Or just hop on Amazon and get anything you want that has a bones mount. GH6. Yeah, I'm just crazy thinking about what the next Panasonic GH will do. 8K makes potential sense. Sully says 8K for sure. RAW would be, I mean, if they're doing what they're doing now in this body, I don't see why RAW wouldn't be a thing next time. Best investments you've made as a filmmaker. That's a great idea. Dog barking. Yeah, that'd be a good idea to do a video on. The stuff that's stuck with me the longest or worked the best over time. Yeah, I'm not saying you're wrong, Sully. I think you're onto something with the 8K for the GH6. He's quoting Panasonic saying 8K in homes by 2020 in everyone's homes. They can totally do it, and that's the beauty of that smaller sensor. Everyone complains about it, but you can do so much with that. I should vlog. I enjoy this kind of stuff, or shooting over in the space. I've actually vlogged several times, or doing I did a weekly wrap up once or twice, but ended up not posting it. So I don't know. If I changed all the lighting in the studio here to something shootable, I would consider it. But it wouldn't be as exciting as other people. I'm not going to jump out of helicopters. It's just going to be me like putzing around here in the studio on a day-to-day basis, working and going to the bank every once in a while. I don't do anything super exciting. Video on softbox lights. Yeah, that'd be interesting to check out some options there. Or just buy one of those cheap fluorescent lights and let's see what we can pull off, or how we can work around the issues there. That'd be fun. I have had an idea, and I think it'd be so much fun to do. It would just need some would cost more than my normal videos, time and money wise. But I love to do a series where I drive or fly out to somebody's space and help them maybe freshen up their little studio setup, play with some different lighting, audio, and then maybe get some sponsors involved and hook people up with stuff. I think something like that would be a lot of fun. I'd enjoy it a lot. Hang out with some other creators. Thought on the new DaVinci Resolve. I just downloaded the light or trial or whatever it's called version. I just haven't used it yet. I should probably just do a video and just sit down, start using it, and play with it. But I know a lot of people are really liking it. Recreating scenes from different films, not a bad idea. I've also wanted to do some live lighting, which I need to just set up the wireless camera setup, and then maybe we can do that. We can just go into the other studio and start messing around with some different setups. Yeah, Ryan Hall says Studio Rescue with Caleb Pike. That's the Rode, the old Rode Studio Rescue. That was awesome. I really loved that. Yeah, something like that. That'd be a lot of fun. Pimp my studio with Caleb. Get lit. Yeah, stupid. Nice. Bart says, love to have you come out and help set up my new studio when we buy a house soon. Sweet. It's always exciting when you get a new house. Every time when we were looking for houses before we bought this one, that's what the first thing I did was check out the garage and the basement and see what kind of camera angles I could pull off. Your ideas on the future of Final Cut 10. Features I'd like to see. I'd like to see little things get fixed. And I'm sure there's some other stuff, but one of the things is just like picking a font. You think start typing out the font and it would show up in the list? No, it just defaults to the very first one every time. I'm really happy with Final Cut. Maybe they could just flush out their current plugins that they have. They're very basic and they work okay, but I'd love to see a little more magic there, I think. Yes, I'd love to chat with Cinematography Database, Matt over there. That'd be a lot of fun. Okay. We're going to wrap it up here in a little bit, guys. So, should I buy a Ninja Blade or Ninja 2 in 2017? If you're rocking a 1080 setup, absolutely. I mean, you can take a lot of cameras and get 4:2 out of it, some even 10-bit. So I don't think that's a bad idea at all, especially since they're very affordable now. Yeah, Rode Studio Rescue was a sweet. If you guys care about audio stuff at all, or sound mixing or whatever, check that out on YouTube. That's a lot of fun. Rode Studio Rescue. Yes, Sully makes a great point here. Can we please get a 4K recording box without a monitor built in it? I've talked to Adamus, several people over there, and I told them the exact same thing. I don't need something this big that weighs 1,000 pounds on top of the camera. Give me something like this big, right? That I can just do that. Just a little, whoops. Just a little box. HDMI pass-through, little OLED screen letting me know it's actually recording, and you're done. We don't need some massive thing. So yeah, hopefully that'll happen. Something essentially like the Ninja Star, but a little beefed up. Zhiyun Crane 2, not version 2, but 2, the new model. I am hopefully going to be getting my hands on it in the next couple of weeks, and I'll cover that. DAT-free Harbor Freight tape measure, exactly. Pixel 5 knows what's going on. Adamus Star. Yeah, the Ninja Star or whatever it was called. It was a great little recorder. What do I think about Brandon Lee? I would call him the Lord of Gimbals, the YouTube Lord or Sir of Gimbals. Yeah, he seems to have done a lot of good stuff. I'm subscribed to him. Yes, great idea, Nadir. Create a studio in odd places like a car, boat, bus, etc. I've actually been meaning to turn my coat closet upstairs into a small studio just to show people what you can get away with. Take it easy, Pixel 5. He's taking off. $5 from Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey. He says, thanks for all the vids, man. Thank you for your donation. That means a lot. Yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. But I really appreciate it. I need to get my darn sound effects going on. I'm so sad. The one day we actually get some donations consistently, and I don't have my air horns. So we'll get that fixed for next week, I promise. Decent mic to record about a meter away, 3 or 4 feet. You'd probably want a shotgun microphone. I wouldn't get a cardioid because you want to reach a little bit. So something with a super cardioid is what I'd probably go for. Maybe a cardioid if it's sensitive enough. So yeah. All right, folks, I think we are going to wrap this one up. Good to be back, even though it feels like it's very nice to be hanging out with you guys. This is a lot of fun. I'll look into doing some Skype stuff and bring some people on, and maybe we can do some live topics, podcast episodes with other YouTubers, other content creators, and experts in the industry. Before I leave, donations, you're a beast. He says, keep it up. Thanks for the vids. You guys are amazing. Let me know if there's any other videos you'd like to be seeing coming up, more topics you'd like to see covered, and maybe some people recommendations for interviews. We already talked about Matt Workman. That would be a lot of fun. So until next time, have a good night, and we'll catch you guys next week.